Austin Faith Dialogue, a public affairs series at the crossroads of religion and life. Austin Faith Dialogue highlights the interaction of the religious community with the social and cultural issues in the area in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KTBC TV. Join us now for this week's edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. Hello, I'm Richard Thompson, pastor of Central Presbyterian Church, and your host for this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. At the turn of the century, a man sat down to write. The fruit of his efforts influenced generations to come and gave a fresh view to the ways that we see the world around us. That man was William Sidney Porter, better known to the world as O. Henry. His legacy is still with us. And today, with the classic stories such as The Gift of the Magi, The Last Leaf, and The Ransom of Red Chief, we are indeed blessed. This year, not so far away from the turn of the next century, a group of young writers sat down to do their own compositions. The fruit of their efforts will perhaps influence later generations, but we certainly know today that their fresh view of the world around us will be very beneficial to us at this time. Who are these writers? Not the rising stars of the publishing world, perhaps, but rather elementary school students from Austin, from Pease Elementary to be exact. Participants in a special writing workshop for special young people sponsored by the O. Henry Museum. And joining us to tell more about this program is Corey Chambers, the instructor with the O. Henry Museum for the Writers' Workshop, and two of those students, Corey Blaine and Emberly Ransom, and we welcome you all.
Thank you.
I would like to take note of the fact that, Corey, you have had, I think, how long a time with these folks?
We have had actually 7 weeks together. The program runs for 5 weeks, but we had a couple extra weeks because we enjoyed our time with them a lot. So
I see. Extended it a bit.
Right, extended a little bit because one of the reasons they decided to come on the show. We were invited to come on the show, so they worked extra hard to prepare to come on the show.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you do with the kids when you get together with them?
Well, we do all kinds of writing exercises, but the most important thing is we have fun. I think that's key. I had a lot of fun with the kids. It's as much fun for me, I hope, as it is.
In other words, it's not just like more schoolwork.
Right, because they're in school all day. This is an after-school program, and we want it to be fun. We want to have a good time. It's not just more schoolwork, because I don't think they would stand for it.
Mm-hmm. So, Corey and Emberly, have you enjoyed it? Has it been fun for... What about you, Emberly? How have you felt about it?
Well, I enjoyed it because, I mean, all we did, because I got a childcare, all we did in childcare was go outside, then we'd come back in and do our homework. But this was, like, fulfilling for me because it's enabling me to become a better writer.
I see. So you had a choice. You didn't have to go to this. You, on your own, decided that you'd like to learn more about writing and to enjoy it at the same time.
Yes, sir.
And what about you, Corey? How did you happen to do it?
I first heard I want to go to it because see, I want to be a chef or cook when I grow up, and I want to be a writer for actor, just in case for cooking didn't work. I want to be a writer.
I see. In case the cooking doesn't work out, you want writing as a backup.
Yeah.
And maybe you could write recipes. I mean, you could combine them. What are some of the things that you've written in this activity?
Monologues. We've written rap. We've made up rap songs.
Mm-hmm.
We've written
some poetry and short stories, this kind of thing?
Yeah, short stories and poetry.
And I think one thing, too, since we have two Coreys, I guess I could call you Corey the Elder here.
Corey the Elder, okay.
I get the sense that what we're about to see here will be a good illustration of what you just heard that you do, but you've worked with drama, haven't you, specifically?
I have. I have worked with a few different organizations in town, and I specialize in working with kids in drama. And
tell us about some of your other work.
well, I've worked with kids acting, teaching young people screen acting, improvisation, stage acting. We've put together entire plays in as short a time as a week, having the kids write their own plays, produce it, perform it.
What other organizations have you?
I've worked with, right now I work with the Real Children's Theater, which is a nonprofit theater here in town. They produced The Velveteen Rabbit at Capital City Playhouse, and also a show I co-wrote with Dee Dee Clark at Live Oak Theater, and that was Monsters. And the belief behind that organization, and it's actually my personal philosophy, is that young people should be given the opportunity to perform, to write, to create their own works, so that they can gain a sense of self-esteem from it, and also so that they can speak out on their own issues. And so that's one organization. Another organization.
Okay, now Real Children's Theater is distinct from what?
From
phony children's theater?
Phony children's theater, exactly, because it's called the Real Children's Theater because we really have children performing. A lot of children's theaters have adults dressed up in chicken suits performing for kids.
Right.
And we believe that the children should be able to perform. It's different, it's unusual. Not a lot of children's theaters actually have children performing. Thus the name, the Real Children's Theater.
And Imberly, in the class that you've been in with Corey, you've done some acting. I know a little later in the show we're going to see you in a scene. Had you ever done that before?
Well, for assignments, but it wasn't really fun, but Corey made it fun.
I see. And what you're saying is that you've had the experience, and yet there's something new about what you've done in this O. Henry workshop.
Yes, sir.
And I think maybe we'll look at some of your classmates' activity here, and we'll see an introduction to the whole by Daniel Sosa, poetry by Royal Burleson, and a scene about friendship written, performed by Frederick Bracken and Derek Davis.
The O. Henry Workshop is a neat experience for young writers to learn to write. For example, poetry, puns, plays, autobiographies, rap, monologue, and about O. Henry.
Freedom. Freedom at last. We all know what happened to our brothers. We also know what happened to our mothers. Freedom. Freedom at last.
2 tickets to Halloween 5, please.
No, 2 tickets for Boys in the Hood, please.
I said Halloween 5.
I said Boys in the Hood.
You go see a movie you want to see, and I see a movie I want to see.
Good idea.
Who's going to pay them?
How about you pay your money and I'll pay mine? And we'll both meet back at the candy store after the movies are over.
Okay, we'll still be friends?
Yeah.
Okay, looks like we have a resolution of conflict there right at the movie theater. And one of the things, Corey, I'd like to just do a little something with here if I could. We, like you and I are in having a disagreement, like they had just there on that little skit. And so one of the ways that, you know, the idea is if you have a disagreement, you fight about it. And whoever's the toughest wins, right? And in this, have you ever done anything like that in the O. Henry workshop where you've actually worked through problems, like talking it through or working it out in some other way?
Yeah.
Can you give us an example of that?
Well, see, when I first joined, I wasn't like that interested in writing because I really didn't think about it that much. But then when I joined, it was kind of like real fun.
And so it gave you some new ideas and new ways of doing things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the pencil exercise we did, Corey, where we had 2 students go to the front of the class and one stole the other one's pencil?
Oh yeah.
Can you talk about that for a minute?
We went we were doing this play, and like me and Sarah, I think Sarah Crown, we we set up, and she asked if she could go get some water. And while she was going, I took her pencil and hit it, and she kept on saying that I took it, and then she started to call the teacher, and then we stopped the play from there.
And then we had different students come up. And Emberly, did you go up on the pencil exercise?
Yes.
And how did you decide to resolve it?
Well, I went up with Royal, and when I came back from getting a drink of water, I cried because he had taken my pencil.
I see.
So we talked about different ways to resolve it, and everyone in the class came up and showed a different way to resolve it. Maybe not the best way always, but certainly exploring different ways.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the things that in town here, they've got a place called the Dispute Resolution Center, which is a long words for saying learning how to work out problems and conflicts where there's differences. And you said you cried. I mean, were you really crying or just pretending you were crying?
Just pretending.
Okay. But can you recall when you really have cried about something that has upset you and it was part of, you know, being in a, almost like a battle with somebody?
No, I haven't.
What about, I think maybe we have an example of this just recently when there was a part up and there was only one part and two people wanted to play both the parts and they discussed it, and that's how they worked it out.
And they didn't cry over it, but they were upset about it because they each wanted to do the same thing. Yeah, okay.
And that happens a lot. That's a real life situation, and it's something you have to learn about.
Well, I think that's part of the value. It's not just learning to sit down and write out my poem or my little short story or whatever. It's learning to deal with real life.
Right.
And I'd like to just have you tell us, too, about how the children happen to come to the class. Is it just like announced over the PA system? Anybody that wants to be in the O. Henry Museum class?
Well, Karen Patterson, who's the coordinator of the program and absolutely wonderful, contacts the schools and contacts the teacher and discusses it with the teacher. We've worked with the 5th and 6th grade at Pease Elementary, and then the teachers contact the students and talk it over with the students, explain the program, and then invite the students to come, and that's how we happen to find our wonderful students from Pease.
So sort of nominated by
Exactly,
teachers,
by the teachers.
and then they have the choice as to whether to come.
Exactly.
What are some of the other schools that are participating?
We work with Rice Elementary, Maplewood Elementary, the PAL program, which is the Police Activities League, and we have Galindo Elementary through PAL. We also do a program with Upward Bound at Houston Tilton College, and they're high school students who come from all over the city. See if I've forgotten any. Pease, Rice, Maplewood, PAL, the Galindo program, and
It may come to you, yes.
it may come to me.
But how long has it been going on? I mean, when did it start?
Well, this session started the 2nd week of January, and the program runs for 5 weeks, but there were 2 sessions prior to this one. This is the first one that I've taught.
Back in 1991 it started.
Exactly.
I see.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I'd like to see another set of these in just a moment, but I just, before we forget the first round, we talked about the 2 boys that were like at the movie theater and which show to see, and they still wound up friends. And we saw another one there, besides Daniel's talking about what's in the program. Oh, I know, it was the young man's poetry about freedom. And remind us a little bit about that, Corey. What was the theme of that poem?
Freedom, freedom at last.
And is there something like an echo of Martin Luther King in that? He made a speech about freedom along that line. And he talked about his mother and his brothers. And have you written a poem in this group?
Yeah, I think I have, yeah.
Okay, you can remember doing it, but maybe not remember exactly what it is. But when you write a poem, it's different than just like when we're talking here. And what are some of the things that you can remember that you've done that are going to be something that you have meant something to you?
A pun.
A pun. All right. Did you write a pun?
Yes.
This is a pause for a pun.
Okay.
Because isn't it the O. Henry Pun-Off that's held every year?
Exactly.
All right.
We had two guest speakers come, a cartoonist and Gary Halleck, who runs the Pun-Off. And he spoke with the students and entertained them for quite a while. And then he worked with them on writing puns, and it was a lot of fun.
Okay, well, this is pun time. Do you remember your pun?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's brace ourselves. All right, here we go.
A mule and his money are soon smarted.
A mule and his money
Are soon smarted.
are soon smarted.
There's a Shaggy Dog story that goes along with that, but
Oh.
I'm not quite sure we have the time to hear it.
Oh, I see.
But it was a great punchline for the Shaggy Dog story.
All right, we'll just kind of imagine it for
Okay.
ourselves here. And your pun is what?
I wanted to go fishing, but I couldn't hook it.
Wanted to go fishing but couldn't hook it. All right, well, that's a little easier to get a hold of. Right. Okay. And they told you about how to make up puns? What a pun is?
Well, yes, they said like a pun is, it's not like a joke or a riddle. It's like getting two subjects and putting them together to make a pun.
Yeah, putting things together that don't ordinarily go together in a word play sort of thing. Yeah. Do you just in case we've missed a real jewel here, is there any other that you all remember from your class?
I remember, actually, it was at Rice Elementary, and I have to say that I don't always get the puns, and we had one student write one, and I was trying to tell her, well, that's kind of it, and it turned out it was just because I didn't get the pun, and it was a really funny one. It was, I would have been a pig farmer, but it was too boring. And I sat there and went, well, Miss Shonda, that's good, but how is that a pun? And she said, boring, get it? Pig farmer, boring? I just, oh, okay.
Very subtle.
So
yeah.
I guess I would have been a detective, but I didn't have a clue. That's my defense.
There you
go.
All right.
It was a lot of fun. It was so enjoyable going and teaching these classes and being with the young people. Sometimes, you know, it didn't feel like work. It was so much fun, and I think it was fun for the kids as well. We had, actually, they kept saying, let's continue the program, let's continue the program. And it's funded by the Opportunities for Youth program through the City of Austin.
The city provides money for it.
Exactly. So when I explained to them that, you know, sometimes funding situations come up and the money only goes for so long, and they decided to write a letter.
Oh, really?
Actually. Yes, they did.
This is a little lobbying that the kids have done?
Lobbying that they did on their own. They came to me with a letter they had written.
I think that's on the screen, as a matter of fact. City of Austin, we really enjoy having the program. Really like poems, rap poetry, puns, monologues, autobiographies, pen pal letters. Please continue the program. The kids of Austin need it. All right. Well, I think that's one thing about that is it teaches young people really early that they have the opportunity, they have the power to influence what happens with taxpayers' money and with public officials, and not just go and vote, but you know, use the power of the pen.
It displayed incredible initiative on their part, and I was really flattered by it.
Well, that's good.
Pleased with it.
You helped with that letter? Write that letter? Okay. Well, we're going to pause here to take a look at the next round of presentations. I understand one of these, by the way, has to do with the daughter of O. Henry, who may have gone to Pease School.
Yes, Pease was opened in 1876, and Margaret Worth Porter would have been school age at the time that Pease was open, and it was one of the first schools in Austin, along with Palm Elementary. But circumstantial evidence points that maybe Margaret did go to Pease Elementary, which is really exciting, kind of echoes of the past in Pease. Emberly actually went into the school archives and found a photograph of a young girl that she thinks might be Margaret. She saw an older picture of Margaret.
Oh, really?
Compared it.
You compared it with what?
Well, there's a picture, okay, in the Pease Hall, they have all these pictures of how peas look when it was older.
Yes.
And and there's a picture of boys in a row and girls in a row. Well, I think that Margaret was on the first row, and it really does look like Margaret.
So you found a picture in a book that had Margaret's picture for sure, and you held it up against this one at school? Is that the way you did it?
Well, sort of.
And they look alike. That sounds like detective work. Are you leading a workshop on being a detective?
That's it.
Okay.
Writing and detective, that's it.
Okay, well, let's watch some of the moral dilemmas that young people explored in this group. We'll be seeing Jessica Vera, Elizabeth Mesquita, and Sarah Crown in a scene that they wrote about adoption. We'll see Daniel Sosa again with a monologue he wrote from the point of view of a policeman about drunk driving. And then we'll see an interesting piece written by Emberly Ransom, Sarah Ziegel, and Ben Mendoza. They'll be imagining what it would have been like if Margaret Worth Porter, the daughter of William Sidney Porter, had come back.
Want to go to the mall?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of time.
I have something to tell you. I think one of us is adopted.
What? Who's that? It can't be me. But it doesn't say a name. All it says is baby girl.
Where did you find that?
In Mom's room.
Well, that can't be because we're sisters, right?
Maybe we're jumping to conclusions.
But it has to be one of us.
Well, whose birthday does it have on it?
Sorry, Sarah.
Can't believe this is happening to me.
How do you feel?
Confused and angry.
Boy, I'm getting sick of pulling over drunken drivers. Last week I had to pull a family out of a burning car because they got hit by a drunken driver. Okay, he made a mistake. This kid's gonna go to jail.
Are you new here?
No, I'm not. Actually, I'm 103 years old. I used to go here a long, long time ago.
What's your name?
My name's Margaret. My father's name was O. Henry. He wrote short stories like The Gift of Magi and The Last Leaf. Have you ever heard of him?
Yes, we have a class involving his writing.
It's really fun. I learned a lot. Wow, I never knew my father would become famous. Well, I have to be going now.
I hope we meet again sometime in the future. Yeah, you're a cool dudette.
Cool, Dudette. Well, I have to be going. Bye.
103 years old? Isn't she dead?
Okay, 103 years old. My goodness, she didn't look that old. You wrote that, Emberly. You wrote that little drama there? That was your...
we all wrote it.
Oh, you all
together.
worked together. Oh, I see. Okay. And the thing that I really enjoyed about that is that it gives us a sense that the very same hallways that you're walking down in over there, that O. Henry's daughter may have done that. And you have, by the way, I need to do this before we end our program, about how people, if they want to find out more about this kind of creative process, how do they go about doing it?
Well, they can contact Karen Patterson at the O. Henry Museum. The O. Henry Museum, by the way, I'm going to put in a little plug here. If you've never been there, it's fabulous. It is so interesting. O. Henry, one of the greatest writers of our time, short story writers, lived here in Austin, and I would really recommend going to the museum. So now that that's out of the way, go visit the museum. It's here in Austin on 5th Street. They can contact Karen Patterson at the O. Henry Museum, and she can give them more information about the writing workshops.
Mm-hmm. And these workshops, even though they're sponsored by the museum, are not at that location. They're out in the schools.
They're out in the schools, in the various schools.
Mm-hmm. And I know more and more schools have talked to you about doing this, and I suspect it's stretching your resources just a little bit.
Well, we could always use more resources, and also volunteers for the museum. So we can, I want to encourage, if any city council members are watching, I mean, support opportunities for youth that support the program because it is really important. The community, your involvement, I really appreciate your involvement with the kids. It really can make a difference, and it's...
Well, we've done a program on the museum once before and had someone who very much looked like O. Henry show up and talk about what it was like back in Austin in those days, and taken note of the fact that this is one of the most visited of all the tourist sites in town. With the new convention center opening up, it is in need of physical repair to accommodate all those visitors.
Going through renovation right now.
And but I think this outreach into the community, besides the pun-off, which is the best known activity, is one of the most important ones. And in the minute or so that we have left, I'd like to just take one moment to dwell upon the fact it's opportunities for children. I mean, are these maybe children who wouldn't have the opportunities otherwise in their life? What does that mean?
I think so. A lot of times programs like this go under the term at-risk youth, and I don't like that term because I don't think that's very accurate. All youth are at risk. These are young people that would not maybe have the opportunities. I know I grew up in a home where after school I went home, watched TV by myself, didn't do anything. Latchkey kid. And so this is giving them an opportunity, as Emberly said, to do something creative with their time, and it's worth it. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I think that's the thing that maybe gives you a special interest and capabilities, that you had a similar experience yourself.
I did. I can really relate to the kids. I really believe that I can. Actually, Corey was sharing with me yesterday what he would be doing after school, and I can really relate to that.
What would you be doing after school, Corey?
Well, either I would be at ACC just doing my homework, or I'd be at ARC playing darts.
Playing darts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he'd either play darts, or he said he'd go to his grandmother works at ACC, so he'd just go sit with his grandmother
and do my homework.
Yeah. And then this is more with other kids, and just it sounds like more fun, even than playing darts.
Interaction.
We would like to thank you, Corey the younger and Corey the elder, for being with us today, and we would like to thank you, Hun, for being with us. I think that when we are thinking about the work that has been presented to us today, let's be so grateful that we have such a resource in Austin, Texas. I'm Richard Thompson, thanking you for watching. Be with us again next week on our next edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. And peace be with you. For more information, call Austin Metropolitan Ministries at 472